YouTube, what's going on? It's ItsAdiar back with an update for the Golem video that I dropped a few days ago. I apologize it took me so long to get this out. I was testing some other stuff, and then I kind of just didn't have time to play as much as I wanted to this season so far. So things have been coming out slowly, and I do apologize that the update video has taken so long to get out to you all. Also, I apologize for the fan. East Coast heat wave, it's crazy. Sorry. Anyway, going forward, I just want to quickly show you the character as I have it built right now. I also have the POB for what I would like progress this character into moving forward. And we'll just go over that, go over some key changes. There's some items that you can switch back and forth if you'd like to, for either more defenses or offenses. So let's go ahead and hop into that. And if you're rocking with the guide or the content or anything like that, throw a sub at the channel. I would very much appreciate it. We're almost at 2,000 subs, which is kind of crazy. And you guys have really just been banging. Like it's the support on the last video was insane, and I very much thank you. Anyway, let's go. Let's look at this video. We're down to a modest 13 now with 5 additionals on the side. You could, if you wanted to, drop this to 12 and throw in a stone golem of safeguarding. I chose not to do so, but you can do that. A lot of the gear or gearing choices have been the same. We're still running Pledge of Hands. It is just straight up better than running a multi T1 one-hander and shield. It's just it destroys it for damage. We're still running Brass Dome. In the POB, I'll be showing you a different option that you can use if you don't like Brass Dome. And again, you don't need all white. So I did get a comment on the last video asking about how hard it was to get all white sockets on this. You don't need to. Even if you just have one that's corrupt, like you don't even need it. You really don't need it linked, right? You only need realistically, you only need like a 3 link on here. That way you can get Feeding Frenzy and Calling Strike onto a golem. But other than that, this doesn't really need to be linked. As long as it's corrupted, you can roll your socket colors with the Tainted Chromatics, and you'll be fine there. We are still using a additional Curse Primordial Chain. You'll notice that we're no longer allocating Breath of Lightning. We're allocating Ash, Frost, and Storm. That's going to be because of a change on the tree. Life res minus cost on the ring. This is still the ring I had before. The ring's pretty good, I'll be honest. You know, really good dex, really good damage, really good attack speed. Of course, we're still running the double Monarch. For our gloves, lots of life, lots of resistances. We are now taking specifically these two. We're taking Ignites You Inflict Spread to other enemies, and we're taking Ignite Exposure. Some people were saying they were having some issues with their Wave of Conviction not reducing fire res and instead of reducing lightning res. I tried to test that. I wasn't really having that issue, but I could understand where that issue would pop up. So just putting the exposure on gloves alleviates that, even though it's a little bit worse than the actual Wave of Conviction. You get it on your gloves, it's a little bit worse, but you also open up a socket, and we are very, very starved for sockets. The Ignite Inflict is just because, you know, igniting things is one of our defensive layers. And so when we flame dash into packs, we ignite, and then that ignite proliferates out a little bit farther just for added safety. Boots, we just take +1 to maximum fire res for more effective HP. And we take cooldown for travel skills for our flame dash just to get that back up and moving. And I am still using a Pyro Shot clasp. I do have another option that you can use in this slot as well, if you don't want to do that. I've kind of got my flask situated. We're currently rocking a Bottled Faith, a Roommate's Concoction, and then I'm using a Quartz Flask just for phasing. That way when I'm flame dashing around, I can move in between packs. And of course, we're using a Quicksilver and a Life Flask. Moving into gems, you'll notice one very, very important thing here. We dropped this cluster, and we are now using a Thread of Hope. So we got rid of our cluster. We're using a Thread of Hope. We also dropped the Anima Stone and just replaced it with another Primordial Harmony. And we're also using the small cluster. To go over all this, I'll go ahead and pop over to the POB, and we can take a look at that. Alrighty, so here is our POB. Again, no cluster over here. We're no longer using Eldritch Battery. We're using a medium Thread of Hope to grab the Golem Commander and the small node here. We do miss this node, but it's okay. We're able to get all 3 of the life nodes, and we're also able to get Breath of Lightning, which is why we're no longer allocating that. We get a jewel socket here for another primordial harmony. The cluster jewels themselves have not changed. There's still going to be renewals and feasting fiends, and then we're just shoving harmonies in wherever we can get them. We have 1 eminence on the build, and then everything else is basically a harmony, except for a small armor cluster with enduring composure. I found that just relying on enduring cry was not quite good enough in keeping up our endurance charge generation. Especially with the boys just like popping off and shooting things at the edge of the screen constantly. So enduring composure on top of enduring cry makes everything pretty sustainable and reliable, and you really don't run into endurance charge issues anymore. For our defenses, we are taking the staff block nodes here. We're taking these staff block nodes here, and then working toward these block nodes as well. You could always choose to drop like 2 of the life nodes to fill that out a little better if you'd like. We are still running protection mastery just so we don't have to worry about our resistances being lowered by map mods or by mercenaries, which is I'll be honest, the mercenaries are the main reason I took this. I don't care about the map mods, like the map mods or whatever, but like there's just mercenaries everywhere cursing you, and it's just like, listen, I can't be bothered. We are taking this. We could grab the maximum fire res for more EHP, but I just opted not to. But the tree is still pretty much like we're still following the same idea for the tree, which is to just get a bunch of harmonies and then get defense. Really, that's what we're doing here. We do need all of this just to have all 3 of our auras on. We are running 3 auras. We're running a purity of elements. We're running flesh and stone since we're flame dashing on top of things constantly. That way we have the DR for things that are nearby. And we are running an anger. We have dropped zealotry. We're running an anger. Anger is just better than zealotry. And then of course we take redemption. That way we can get the 30% AoE since our guys can overlap. As far as skills go, we still have the automation with convocation and steel skin, and then we have a flame dash as well. We have Arcanist brand with enfeeble and flammability. I have just, because we have the wave of conviction on our no longer in our links, because we have exposure on our gloves, that frees up a slot and allows us to place a carrion golem in that slot, which was one of the golems we were missing. We do lose one of our fire golems to get that carrion golem, but it is overall a net gain in DPS. Again, as you see here, it's just a ton of harmonies. With 1 thread of hope and 1 eminence, we have dropped the anima stone. The harmony, I double checked the numbers. The harmony is better than the anima stone with our setup because we're already getting so many extra guys. It's better. You can technically, I do want to just go over a couple of the optional things that you can do on this build as well. You can, if you'd like, change your brass dome to a Vis Mortis. Vis Mortis will give you slightly more damage. It will give you slightly more damage, but I don't think it's worth it. Maybe if you have the chest from Cortex on your Merc, it might be okay, but you're still losing +5 max res, which I don't like. But that is an option if you'd like to do so. For your amulets, a replica Dragon Fangs +3 is just flat out worse than Primordial Chain by a large margin. If you can get a +2/+2, it'll slightly increase your damage. Remember, this is not the actual damage. We got to go in there and remove the extra golems that we would lose. So let's double check that real quick, just so you can see what that looks like. All right, so Primordial Chain, it says 50 mil. Let me go down to the gold amulet that has the +4 on it, and then let me add our anoint on here. That way we are doing a fair comparison. +2 all skills, +2 fire skills. So this would be like a pretty expensive amulet to get with the correct anoint. And then we need to subtract, we're losing 6 golems for taking off Primordial Chain. So we need to subtract 30 overall shots from this. Every golem is 5 shots. So you get like an extra 2.5 million for the cost of that, and you lose the extra curse. I just don't see it being worth it at all. For as far as I can tell, Primordial Chain is just the best in slot option. realistically, in a realistic sense. Like if you want to get a +2/+2 and then try to corrupt that for an additional curse, you go right ahead. But for all intents and purposes, Primordial Chain is just your best option. And you can just buy a ton of these for a couple of chaos and just spam corrupt them until you get your curse. So that's an option as well. Pyro Shot Clasp is what I like to use. You can use a Darkness Enthroned with Ghastly Eye Jewels. This will be more damage. This will be less survivability, because by doing this, by putting on a Darkness Enthroned and getting rid of the Pyro Shock, you are losing 30% physical damage shift on enemies. That's a lot. Just to show you how much that is, let me go over to our configurations. So this is what we look like with the Pyro Shock on. Our max hit is 51 outside of like cooldowns. If we get rid of the Pyro Shock, it goes from 50s to 20s. It's a big difference. But again, it's up to you. If you want to go more damage and less max hit, that's completely fine. And you can the options there if you just want to go balls to the walls with damage. On our actual configs, the only thing that I have checked for us is endurance charges. We're in sand stance. The boys pretty much stay full life, but between the renewals and the leech and the regen and everything, there's very few, if ever, times where they're not just always at full life, which is why renewal is such a strong node on our stuff. We are igniting and shocking, and we have our fire exposure. So this is just going to be a constant. Is the enemy unnerved? Yes. The boys have a 10% chance on hit to unnerve. They're shooting out 1 billion balls a second. It's unnerved. Is the enemy covered in ash? Yes, because of our Merc. We will cover Merc in just a bit. Is the enemy on consecrated ground? This is going to be because of our flask. So that's also what we have here. Going over the Mercenary. The Mercenary is a lot. The Mercenary is adding a ton. Our Mercenary has Scorch Boots. Our Mercenary has Eye of Malice. Mercenary has +1 curse with elemental weakness. Merc has Polaric Devastation for cover enemy in ash. Merc also has a haste with double haste effect on the chest. And Merc, there's a lot of stuff going into the Merc. The Merc is adding a ton. And if you're not using a Merc, you're just trolling yourself. There's so much they're adding. It's a lot. So let me just show you how much the Merc actually adds and why the Merc is so important. I'm just going to null out all of this. So 45, right? Just null it all out and let's see what happens. Merc more than doubles our damage. On top of which, if we don't have the Merc, we lose 25% of the shift of physical damage. So we go from 51 to 30. Merc is crazy, and if you're not using one, you really should be using one. My suggested Merc is the Merc that you'll see here with my character. I'm using a Kineticist because they have access to pretty much all gear, outside of like weapon and shield slot, but the shield slot's just, whatever. Fine. I have one with a haste aura and LA weakness. That's taking out this is freeing up a slot and giving me a free aura that I have no ability to run outside of that. And it's just a ton of damage. So Eye of Malice, just any chest with haste effect and increased aura effect to buff up the haste aura that we're getting. Dodri's Damning to make sure that the elemental weakness can hit. Polaric Devastation to ensure that the enemy is being covered in ash. Between our flammability and other stuff, this will be on. These gloves are bad. I still haven't I still haven't changed the gloves. I'm sorry. Legacy of Fury, Combs Binding, and then just stuff to keep the Merc alive. Merc, basically, I've had the Merc die twice in like 3 days, so it is what it is. But that's pretty much all the changes to the build. I'll have the POB link down below. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to drop them in a comment and I will get to them as I can. I don't know what my streaming schedule is going to look like in the next coming days, just because life is lifing, and as much as I would love for this to be a full-time job for me, it is not. So, you know, I've got other responsibilities, but when I can stream, I will. And when I can answer questions, I will always do so. If I see questions, I generally stop and answer them, regardless of the time of day. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the build. Let me know how it goes for you. I'm really curious how everybody goes, and I'll be testing out some more builds with this as we go. Thank you once more for watching, and have a good day. Bye-bye.